Hello and welcome to Tonalist Painting with M. Francis McCarthy. This is your painter in residence, M. Francis McCarthy, and welcome as well to day 24 of 25 days of tonalism. The study I've done today is painted after an artist named Robert Minor, and the name of the piece is Landscape, which means he either didn't title it or I was unable to find the title. I was interested. This is a really weird, different kind of composition, that's for sure. But I think successful. There was a lot of things that attracted me to it, and the weirdness, of course, was only one aspect. But I don't know much about Robert Minor. I had before I started recording today, I've done a little research here and found a site that had a bit of information. So right off the bat, this is from Ask Art, so right off the bat this tells me that Robert Minor Sr. is not that well known in the modern era. No doubt he has some pictures in a museum here or there, and he's collected, but he is one of these artists. He lived from 1839 to 1904, and the nice thing about Ask Art is they have little biographies, so I'm going to read a little bit from this biography right now, at least until sometimes they start getting bogged down in all the different associations the guy might have been a part of or whatever. But here we go. From Ask Art. Robert Crennel Minor Sr., a landscapist in the Barbizon style, was born in 1839 in New York City. His experience in France in the mid-1860s, where he was influenced by Camille Corot and Narcisse Diaz, was pivotal in his career and the formation of his aesthetic point of view. He had earlier studied in New York City with Alfred C. Howland. Minor traveled in Italy and Germany, studying as well with Gustav Boulanger and von Lupin at the Antwerp Academy after his Barbizon experience. In England in 1873/1874, Minor was represented in his exhibitions at the Paris Salon of 1872, the Grosvenor Gallery, and London's Royal Academy. Back in America in the latter year, Minor set up a studio in Greenwich Village in New York City. His poetic landscapes of New York's Adirondack Mountains and European locales were well received. He exhibited at the National Academy of Design, where he was made an associate member in 1888. He died in 1904 in Waterford, Connecticut. And I won't get into all the different societies he was a member of. I will hopefully put this link in the corresponding blog post. Now, speaking of corresponding blog posts, I have been, I admit, losing some momentum and energy when it comes to the written portion of this endeavor. It takes a lot of energy to, well, it doesn't take much energy to sit here and ramble over a video, but I guess I'd say initially I started with the blog and the writing, and the video came later. These days, however, I get a lot more views and let's say public reception to the videos than I get to the blog, and I am considering scaling back the text portion of the blog just to put up some high quality photos and a link to the video, and I may be trying that for a while, as opposed to coming up with a unique essay for the blog twice a week. And there's a couple of reasons behind this. One, I actually get a lot of people going to my blog and looking at it, and I assume reading it. I don't really know. But I have been at it for a while, so topics to talk about that are directly related to art, that aren't necessarily pertaining to my immediate experience, like here in the videos, I just talk about what's going on in the studio, and I might just philosophize about whatever, or just riff or ramble. That doesn't take that much effort, and it's current with what I'm thinking of, whereas in the blog I'm always trying to write something from a more, I guess I'd say, academic point of view, from a more of a teacher's stance, and so I'm thinking of maybe giving that a rest for a while. So if you have any comments about that, well, you know, I've gotten a few comments on the blog. In fact, if you're somebody who has commented on the blog and I hadn't responded, I apologize, since I don't get much feedback on the blog. I tend not to look for it. And, you know, it's not really to me about getting tons of feedback from you, you know. I put this out there, and it's for me, it's me sharing my art and what I've learned with the world, and it's been very positive, and I enjoy doing it. However, you know, I have a list of topics that I come up with for writing on the blog, and yeah, you know, a lot of them I've touched on before, and I don't mind repeating myself, but I'm going to try it this way for a little while. I've just made an executive decision. But if you are following me through YouTube, you will see zero difference. If you're following me through the blog and you haven't been watching the videos, then I recommend watching the videos, since that's where a lot of the content's going to be, at least for now. And I'm not saying that I won't be getting back and writing essays in the future. The truth be told, I mean, I'd kind of be interested in doing a blog that just is about philosophy and political ideas and spirituality and this and that. And not saying I'm going to do that either, but you know, and it's possible that at some point in time I may go ahead and start writing essays of that type to go along with the photos and videos I'm posting on my blog. So we'll see. And I think another part of it is that we have so much media surrounding us these days that I know if you're like me, you have probably a stack of books you've been meaning to read. And the advantage of something like a video, or something like, you know, the audio portion of this video, is that you can sort of have something else going on at the same time, and it's a multitasking world, so yeah, I can understand that. And I myself, I do some reading every day, but it tends to be pretty focused. I don't, if I can listen to a podcast as opposed to reading somebody's printed article, many times I'll go for the podcast, because I can do that while I'm accomplishing a painting or some digital prep work on my computer at home or what have you, so I can sort of learn as I'm accomplishing other tasks. And that's you know, that is what it is. So if you have any comments about this, pro or negative, feel free to contact me. You can get my email off of my website at landscapepainter.co.nz. And one other thing I've sort of decided to do is we've taken a bit of quality jump in the videos, mostly because I can't find the settings I was exporting videos at. So they've almost doubled in size, and that doubles the length of time it takes to upload them to YouTube, which, you know, isn't a problem. I'll just go do something else. But I am increasing the length a bit. I was actually, surprisingly, when I was looking at some of the old 100 Days of Tonalism videos, some of them were only 6 minutes long or so, and I think I may have had a criteria of just speeding things up by a set amount there, but eventually I got them up to 8 or 9 minutes, and we've been well over 10 minutes for a while now. And like today's video, I think I've set the movie length at just over 12 minutes, maybe 13 minutes, so that'll be a little extra content. And like I said, it's not that difficult, because I'm just rambling. Now, speaking of rambling, let's talk about what's going down in the studio this week. I did pretty much finish the 1622 I was working on. This is when I had challenges with the underpainting drying, and I jumped in and did the painting, and then it takes a while to dry. So now, especially I think when they're painted on top of another painting, it's just less porous of a surface. So I like to make sure things are good and dry, and then I hit it with a coat of liquid, and then I'll go in with my second. And I think I will probably be doing a few things in the third pass on this painting. I'm pretty happy with the 1622. The 1824 I did, which is basically called By the Brook. I've been looking at it. It had some interesting patches in the dark areas where I think my brush strokes had changed direction. I was doing sort of a vertical brush stroke, and it's catching the light oddly. So I put a second coating of liquid on it, thinking that might help, but I think I've probably gotten ahead. I'm definitely going to go in and do a second pass on that painting next week. Meanwhile, I've set up, I think, well, I've had them set up for a while, about 19 scenes, and so I'm doing 5x5s and 5x7s right now. And I may take, I have some boards that were offcuts from my guy that does my ply, and those are 7x10. I may work a couple of those studies into another jump up of 7x10. Just playing with that as an idea. Of course, not in the verticals, but in the horizontal format. 7x10 it's kind of interesting. And or I might just jump into big paintings, since that's what I'm getting asked for. And I am working towards this museum show coming up here in Whangarei in July, so that would be probably the smart move. We'll see. Sometimes I'm not as smart as I'd like to be. But of those studies I've done, I'm working on one today, Saturday. By the way, today's Saturday, April 29th, here in New Zealand. Day ahead of you guys, and most of you guys anyway. So I've done half a small study this morning when I was in the studio. I'm home for lunch right now working on this. And I will be going back and finishing that painting, and maybe jumping into another painting or starting another small study. But I guess I'm going to try and get all these studies done next week. And I contemplated not even doing the studies, but just jumping into larger paintings. But I'm glad I'm doing them. It really gives me a chance to know if a subject's going to work as a painting or not at a small scale. So anyway, I can see we're getting close to the end of the video here. Thanks for joining me today. Click subscribe if you enjoyed this video. That's always awesome, and I will keep the content coming. Also, you can follow my work and my blog over at landscapepainter.co.nz, and on the blog, I will have higher res images of the painting that's featured in that video, and the video will always be linked there too. So we'll see you tomorrow, which is Sunday. So meanwhile, take good care and stay out of trouble.